First, let me just start off by saying that I used to love the icebreaker. Yeah, like I said in the intro, it was my favorite exotic in all of year one, and every time I completed a raid, I could only hope that that little icebreaker would pop up on the side of my screen, and every Thursday night I would just pray that Xur would bring me an icebreaker, and every Friday morning he let me down. I loved it, and I know that like the Gallarhorn was the best exotic in year one, but at the same time, like I just loved that concept of a icebreaker as a sniper that regenerated ammo. I loved the look at the time, and then you know I was sad to see it get left behind. Also, I was so dang excited when I saw that they were bringing it back. I think that I flipped out more than anyone else. I saw that they were bringing back the icebreaker, and I was so dang happy. And then, of course, if you follow the channel, you know that I made a video when I got it, saying I finally got the year 3 icebreaker. Not because like it was needed at the meta, like it certainly was not needed at the time, but boy, I loved that weapon. So now you kind of understand where I'm coming from, and you know that like I'm not just some noob who picked up the icebreaker yesterday and decided that he didn't like it. I'm also not some guy who's always hated the icebreaker. And you know, I still got it in my vault from year 1. Just I loved the weapon, and now we're gonna talk about what made me change my mind and how on earth I could possibly hate the weapon now as much as I do. I absolutely despise the icebreaker, and I hate having to use it. So let's talk about why. So it's not just the fact that everybody uses it. You know, like you go into a trials match and that's all you see. You go into like a game of Rift and you get killed by a sniper, you don't even have to look, you just know it's an icebreaker. And you know, I could make a whole montage of just getting killed by the icebreaker so many times. Like you can see the clip I'm showing on screen. Like what is there, like 4 people in this clip right now on the screen, like all using icebreaker? And like I got killed by the icebreaker. There's my 2 teammates with icebreakers. There's the guy back there with the icebreaker. They're at like point blank and they're still using the icebreaker. Like it's a bloody sniper. And I also didn't have to go digging through months of gameplay to find this clip. I recorded this yesterday and I just decided to put it in the video because it proves my point. Everybody uses the icebreaker and there's hardly any diversity. It's like the only gun you see now. And Destiny is a game that I love for its diversity. There's so many different guns and different combinations you can use in the game, and you can just be unique, you can stand out, but nobody does that. Everybody uses the same weapon. And here I'm going to reference True Vanguard, just because he uses lots of statistics and numbers in his videos from like Destiny Trials Report. But he said like over 50% or you know some big percentage of weapon kills in the Trials of Osiris this weekend were from icebreaker. Like, that's pathetic. You think about like the thousands of Guardians that go into Trials of Osiris in one weekend, and so many of them had the same weapon equipped. Like, that is just so pathetic and absurd to me, and it helps me prove my point so much of just everybody uses an icebreaker. And you don't need to be a mad scientist or look at statistics to find that out. Just go into the Crucible. So the main reason, like I said, isn't just because everybody uses the icebreaker, because I can deal with that, you know, but it's more the reason why everybody uses the icebreaker. And really it's just because you're so obligated to use the weapon. You get such an advantage when you use the weapon that you'd be stupid not to use the icebreaker in like Trials of Osiris or just about any other game mode, you know? And that's what frustrates me, because like even if just everybody used it, that'd be okay. That doesn't concern me, you know, that doesn't affect what I use. Sure, everybody else is using a gun, like, but I don't care. The deal is though, like, it does affect me whenever I go into a Trials of Osiris match, and I like, if I choose not to equip an icebreaker, I'm like, I'm killing myself here, you know, like, everybody has this advantage called the icebreaker that they can just use, that gets rid of the entire special ammo problem. And if you don't take that advantage, then you're just crazy. And like, no offense to people who don't use the icebreaker, because I honestly respect you if you choose to use what you love rather than taking that advantage. But, you know, it does just put an immense pressure on you, and you feel it. Like whenever I go into, specifically Trials of Osiris, I'm going to talk a lot about Trials because it is really the most competitive part of Destiny right now. And so you need to do good in Trials. You can't really use what you love. You want to do as good as you possibly can. And like in Trials of Osiris, if I don't put on an icebreaker, you know, maybe I want to put on an exotic primary, or I want to use, you know, one of my legendary snipers that I spent hours grinding for. You know, like, I love those snipers. I want to use what I love, but whenever I do use that, I feel this immense pressure to use the icebreaker. Because, like, you know I'm missing out, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I could do better right now if I was using that icebreaker. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, and we just made it very clear that you have such an advantage over every other special weapon in the game, or specifically the sniper rifles, you know, like, I honestly cannot blame people for using the icebreaker. And even though, man, I hate it, and like, I hate getting killed by it just because I see it so often and it just drives me nuts, like, I can't blame people, because like, they're just taking an advantage. The icebreaker gives you such an obvious advantage over every other sniper in the game, and like I said, I can't blame you for using it. So that's where the icebreaker's at right now, and that's kind of, I feel like Destiny's just kind of destroyed the weapon. They've made it so much worse, but really all they did was make it better, and that's the funny part, okay? Because icebreaker was never buffed. I'm pretty sure it was actually only touched once, and when it was touched, it was nerfed at the end of year 1, and I think they did something to like the recharge time and made it slower. But like, all it's been is nerfed, and you think about that, like, somehow it used to not be that great, and now it is the most overused weapon. And that's all just thanks to the special ammo economy, and it's really quite a shame. Because like I said, I know I'm not the only one who's grinded for those legendary snipers. You know, I want to use my longbow synthesis. And it's gotten to the point where, like, when me or one of my friends does get a Crucible rank up package or whatever, and, you know, maybe we get a god roll sniper rifle that we would have loved back in the day, it's just kind of like, meh, that would have been nice before the special ammo nerf, you know, and it just sucks, because we know that we can't use the weapons that we love, and that's what the icebreaker does, is it just makes every other sniper rifle in the game look terrible. And here I'm going to reference True Vanguard again. This is one of his tweets back from after the Destiny 2 reveal, and all the big YouTubers got to go play the game and stuff. So he said, "Man, it really sucks coming back from Destiny 2 to the icebreaker meta. There was more diversity in a private build with a few guns." I'm sure you know what he's talking about, but like, in the Destiny 2 private build, they of course did not have access to the full game. I believe they had, like, if I remember correctly, like 4 primary weapons, or the kinetic weapons. They had like 5 energy weapons they could choose from, and like 5 power weapons, and that was it. Like, everybody just had that select few number of weapons. And he says that there was more diversity in that game with, like, what, like 15 total weapons that you could see, and there was more diversity there than in Destiny 1 with like hundreds of different weapons and so many different sniper rifles, shotguns, so many different primary weapons, and there was still more diversity in the Destiny 2 private build. That's funny, and it totally sums up Destiny right now. Just because, like he said, the icebreaker meta, everybody's using icebreaker, and there was more diversity in a private build with a few guns. That's sad. So that is pretty much it. I'm sorry that this video has turned into such a rant. I was trying to avoid that, but I still feel like I conveyed my message in an effective way. And, you know, it's not just that everybody uses it, even though I do hate that. It also is the fact that, you know, whenever I go into a match, the icebreaker is putting so much pressure on me to use the weapon. And it really is something that you feel, you know, when I'm in trials and I lose a gun engagement and I say I would have won that if I had been using the icebreaker instead of my legendary sniper. You know, it really is something that is constantly going through your head, and you're realizing that I'm putting myself at a disadvantage when I choose not to equip the icebreaker. That is what has destroyed the gun. At the same time, like, it's not really technically destroyed. Destiny has just made the gun so much better, and everybody is using it because it's so much better. I feel like it's destroyed the gun just because it's giving you such a good advantage, and it's making you look terrible if you don't use the gun. And it's sad in a game with so much diversity. And then, like I said, I can't blame people who use it because of this advantage. If you're using the icebreaker, when I go into a trials match full of icebreakers and everybody's using the icebreaker except me, I can't blame them. Because, I mean, like, if you want to do good, especially in trials when it's competitive and you want to go flawless, why wouldn't you use the icebreaker? You know, it's an advantage that you need. I can't blame you if you put on the icebreaker. I can't blame anyone. And also talking about the video that I pointed out earlier, the video that I made saying, oh, I finally got it, finally got the icebreaker, and I was so happy. I've been getting plenty of comments of people saying, I still haven't got it, you know, I've been trying so much, and honestly, the drop rate sucks, you know, I'm super sorry if you haven't gotten it yet, but somebody commented and said, like, still haven't got it, I've been trying, I want it so bad, and I decided to comment back, and I said, I'm sorry, that must suck, trying to compete in an icebreaker meta without an icebreaker. And that's, you know, that's sad. People still don't have the weapon, and think about them for a minute. Like, they're at a ginormous disadvantage in this meta if they don't have the one gun that everybody's using. They cannot have that advantage. It's not like they choose to put the weapon on, they can't. When someone is at a disadvantage in the Crucible because they don't have one gun, that clearly says something about the state of the game, the diversity, and the meta. Like, you know, Bungie is trying so hard to make the game super diverse, make it so that all your options are viable, and even if one weapon is used slightly more than the others, it gets nerfed. And here we have the icebreaker that gives you a major disadvantage if you don't have the weapon. Of course, we're not going to see another patch because Destiny 2 is coming out, and I honestly support that because I want Destiny 2 to just be so much better than Destiny 1, but that is the state right now. You know, we've gone through nerfing tons of things just because they're a little bit better, and now we have a ginormously crazy good weapon that obviously gives you an advantage when you have it equipped. And I'm sorry for the people who do not have it yet. So if I keep talking at this point, the video is just going to turn into an even bigger rant, so I'm going to stop now, but just know this is the story of how the game took my absolute favorite weapon, the weapon that I loved, turned it into an annoyance in the Crucible, a weapon that I hate and despise, and I hate having to put it on. I feel terrible every time I put on the weapon, but even I do. You know, even though I hate it so much, I still put it on because I realize I'm losing these engagements in trials because I don't have a sniper. So that is the state of the icebreaker and the state of the Crucible right now. Sorry for ranting on you. Make sure to leave me your feedback. What do you think? What's your opinion on what I've said so far? Like the video if you enjoyed it, and if you agree with what I've said about the icebreaker, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're not already. This is Hackman, and I will see you in the next video.